Welcome to today's episode of the Tuscaloosa Real Estate Investors Podcast. I'm Phil.Duke Jr. I'm your host for today, and this is part 4 of a 4-part series we've been doing on getting started. So if you are looking for some ideas, some tips and tricks, what to focus on, what you need to know, where to even get started, make sure you check out all 4 episodes of the Getting Started series. Okay, we went over lead generation, we went over acquisitions, we did offers, and now we are on step 4, which is contract management. We're going to be talking about what happens after you found a deal, you've submitted an offer, your offer gets accepted, and you are moving towards a closing day. So if you are getting some value out of this podcast, feel free to share it. Share it with somebody you know. I also want to make sure that you know about our Facebook group, the Tuscaloosa Real Estate Investors Club on Facebook. You can check it out on Facebook. No cost to be in the group, totally free. We share properties in there. We share events. We do a monthly meetup where we get together one night per month. We spend about 3 hours together analyzing properties, learning about specific topics. Totally free to come to those events. I think you'll get more value from that 3-hour session than you would normally get from a 1 or 2 or maybe even a 3-day event. So let's go ahead and dive on into today's episode. Today is going to be about contract management. Been going over some of this stuff with my coaching clients. If you're looking for an affordable solution for investor coaching, I've got a very affordable weekly coaching call that I do every Monday at noon Central Time. It's a call that you can access from anywhere. You can do it from work. You can do it from home. You can go back and watch the recording later on. If you can't hop on it live, feel free to just go in the Investor Club. Just feel free to reach out to me, ask a question in there. There should be a link at the top of that group as well for signing up for that. So let's say we generated some leads, which was step 1. We went out and we analyzed those properties and sent offers, which was step 2. We've figured out what we want to do with this property, how we want to dispose of it in episode 3, disposition. And now we've got to move forward and get this deal closed. Okay, so a couple things I just want you to realize really quickly off the bat. When it comes to investor properties, only about half of the deals that you're going to get under contract are actually going to close. And that is okay. All right. I would not try to, beat that number. That is the nationwide average. And there's a variety of reasons why properties don't close. And most of them are out of your control. So I would not stress out too much about only going after deals that you feel like for sure are going to close, wasting time and wasting money and wasting energy on deals that might not close. I would just simply go out and get more deals under contract so that we can have more of them close. Okay. So if you're wanting to acquire 3 properties this year, you're going to need to get 6 of them under contract. Okay. That's 1 every other month. Very doable. I'm trying to get 3 or 4 a month. So I need to get 6 or 8 under contract every single month. So my goal every week at this point in my investing career, my goal right now is 2 contracts per week because I know only one of the 2 is going to close. Okay. So I would not try to beat the nationwide average. I would not try to skirt around that. I would just simply focus on getting more properties under contract. Okay. The numbers are what they are. I wish it was better. I wish that 75% of them would close. I wish 80% of them would close. But when you know what your numbers are, then you can set up a business plan that will still allow you to have success. I learned this early on as a real estate broker. I wished that the agents that I had working for me were selling more houses than what they were. But, they're all independent contractors. I can't force them to do anything. But if I knew this number of agents is selling this many houses every single month, if I want to double that number, I need to double the number of agents I have. Okay. Whatever my number was. Okay. The nationwide average in the real estate brokerage world is 6 closings per month for every 10 agents you have, right? You're going to have 2 or 3 that are selling most of those 6, and you're going to have 6 or 7 that aren't hardly doing anything. I wish that wasn't the case. I wish that every agent that I hired throughout my career was highly productive, highly motivated, did what we taught them to do. But unfortunately, I can only control what I can control. So instead of trying to get my small team producing more, I just realized, through the help of coaches and mentors, I realized that was not the battle I needed to fight. I had some agents that were there every time. They showed up to training. I had some that, man, they took the class, they got licensed, they got in the business, they spent all the money to get part of the MLS, and then they didn't do anything with it. They never even sold a house, okay? It wasn't that I wasn't a good coach. It was just at that point in their life, for whatever reason, they weren't ready. So I say all that to say that's how you should be looking at your real estate investing career as well, okay? If we know only half the deals that we're going to get under contract close, then we just have to plan accordingly, okay? So why would deals not close? All right, you've got a seller who said, yes, I'll take this amount for it. You as the buyer said, I will, give you this much for it. You start moving forward. Number one reason is inspections, okay? We did a coaching call yesterday with my coaching clients where we talked about how you can analyze properties sight unseen. I gave them a spreadsheet that you can literally just look at pictures and videos of a property online, and you can estimate how much it's going to cost to rehab that property. Most of us, the ones that I'm coaching at least, we're sending offers without ever going inside these properties, wasting time going out and looking at properties every Saturday, every Sunday, every day after work. We don't do that. We look at properties online. We run numbers based on what we can see. And then when we get the property under contract and we move forward, we use our 7-day, our 10-day, or our 14-day, whatever you put in your contract. We use that 14-day or 7-day inspection period to get a contractor out to the property to verify, are the numbers correct? Okay. So if I thought it was going to cost $30,000 to rehab this property, I get it under contract. 2 days later, I meet with a contractor. We walk the property together, go through what I want him to do, what I don't want him to do. And then he does the estimate for me. And instead of it being $30,000, it's $50,000 to fix the house. I've got a decision to make. Okay. Do I still have a deal here or not? So that's okay. That's still, to me, a much better use of our time than going out and driving around looking at houses the way most home buyers do. We write offers sight unseen. We run the numbers using, an Excel spreadsheet that our coaching students have. And then we send offers accordingly. The spreadsheet will actually show you the maximum amount you should offer on that property. And if you start getting close to that number, you've got to decide, am I in this deal or not? Okay. So the number one reason why most properties don't close is because of the inspection period. That's the same on the retail world. When we have a home buyer who's wanting to buy this house to move into it, they look at the house, they write an offer, the offer gets accepted. Normally within a few days, a home inspector goes out, and a lot of times people get scared by what the home inspection report reveals. So that's the number one deal killer out there, is the inspection period. Now, during your inspection period as well, you may also find out, we normally try to go ahead and secure tenants for our properties if we're going to hang on to them during that 10-day or 14-day inspection period. I like 14 days, by the way. I like to give myself more time. So during that 14 days, I want to verify my numbers, not only on the rehab, but what can I rent this thing for if I'm going to rent it? Okay. I want to secure that and get some feedback, at least test the market, throw it on Facebook Marketplace, see how many messages I get, see how many potential showings I could have. Maybe not even go show it yet if I don't officially own it. Maybe I do. Maybe I have a key, or maybe there's a lockbox where I can go show that property to some potential tenants and tell them what I'm planning to do with it. But I use the inspection period to determine if my numbers are correct on the rehab side, on the rental side, maybe even on the sales side too. Maybe even throw it out there on the market and just see, if I'm going to wholesale it, throw it out there for 2 weeks. Let's see what happens. So when I'll come back to that one in a second, because that's a little bit of a different issue. But the inspection is the number one deal killer. Number two is going to be title issues. Okay, sometimes these properties have changed hands so often in the investor side of things that maybe they're having a hard time finding the person that owned it, 6 years ago, who needs to come in and initial off on something. Sometimes these sellers are not always honest with you. They'll tell you they own 100% of the property. And we got one right now where we found out her sister was 50% heir. And we didn't even know she had a sister. She never mentioned it. Her name was not in the courthouse records. It looked like she was the sole owner, but when it went to title, they said, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to move forward and close this unless her sister is going to agree to sign off on this. And as of right now, her sister hasn't. So I didn't do anything wrong. The seller kind of did something wrong. They weren't really honest with all that. But that deal likely won't close. Okay? So title issues. And then number three, kind of already mentioned this, you might find out that you might not be able to monetize this deal. So if I've got it under contract, we've got one right now under contract for $10,000. Our cold caller identified a property owner. It had foundation issues. It was pretty bad, to be honest with you. And she didn't have the money to fix it up. She's not going to be able to rent it the way that it looks right now. And so we agreed with her to give her $10,000. And here's the way we explained wholesaling to her. So our plan all along was to wholesale this property. I didn't want to keep it. Wasn't in the right area for me. Wasn't the right price range for me. But we felt like we could make money because we got it for $10,000. So if we're going to wholesale it, here's what we tell people. We'll say, have you ever seen those HGTV shows where people go out and fix up a house and then they sell it like right away? Well, those TV shows are not necessarily reality, right? What happens most of the time is those investors have put those houses out on the market and they found somebody that wants the house before they ever start construction, right? And then the other houses that they show you on the show are just to make up a good show, right? So essentially what we want to do with your property is let us put it on the market for a couple weeks. Let's see if we can find somebody who wants this property. Let's see if we can go ahead and get them to agree to give us some money up front. And when we do, if we do, then we'll move forward, we'll close, you'll get your $10,000. I'll get a little bit of money up front, and then we won't be risking going in and doing construction on a house that we might not be able to sell. Okay? That's essentially what we're doing with wholesaling, right? We're getting a house under contract. We're going to put it on the market. We're going to try to find somebody to give us more than $10,000. Okay? Now, we're not always going to keep it and rehab it for them, right? But that's a good way of explaining to people how wholesaling works, My rule on wholesaling personally is if I can make $15,000 right now on wholesaling the property, I will do that right now and get $15,000 versus closing on it, doing rehab, putting it on the market, and trying to make $50,000 or $60,000. Right? There's a lot that can go wrong. You think you're going to make $50,000 on a flip. Next thing you know, we had one the other day that $8,500 to rewire it. We didn't go into it thinking it needed to be rewired. But once we started doing some work, we realized there was a lot of issues at this house. And instead of putting Band-Aids on it, we just need to kind of start over here. We don't want to be liable for this thing burning down after somebody moves in. So we made the hard call to spend $8,500 above what we had already marked. It's already almost a $100,000 renovation. Now it's almost $110,000. So you run into things on flips that you wouldn't expect. So even if it's one that I think I'm going to flip, I would go out and I'll get these properties under contract expecting to flip them. But every one that I get under contract that way, I'm always going to test the market for a couple weeks and see if I can get somebody to give me 15 grand. Okay, 20 grand, 25 grand. Had a friend that got a $70,000 wholesale assignment fee the other day in Florida in another market. Last month in Tuscaloosa, Northport area, in the month of January 2024, we did two wholesale deals. One was $37,000 assignment fee. We had it under contract for $28,000, sold it for $65,000. Got another one under contract for $10,000, the $10,000 one I'm talking about. We got it under contract for $28,000. So we made $18,000 on that one. $37,000 profit on one, $18,000 profit on another. That's $55,000 in profit without having to renovate a property. Okay, if you can get 15 grand, I've even got one right now. Just being honest with you, I think I made a bad deal and I bought it. And if I could just get somebody to give me $2,000 or $3,000, if I could just break even, I would walk away from that one. Okay, there's a lot of risk involved when you're going in and rehabbing the property. So that would be the number 3 reason why a deal may not close. You may get it under contract for $28,000. You put it out there for 2 or 3 weeks and nobody wants it. Not even for $30,000, not for $35,000. Like, you're not going to make any money on it all. You may have to go back to that seller then and renegotiate. Say, hey, we put it out here at 28 and no, we didn't get a single bite. This does not happen very often, but we didn't get a single bite. Now, we still want to do the property, but unfortunately the market is showing us that the number that we thought we were going to be able to get is not the number that's actually out there. Okay. So 3 reasons why properties might not close. Number 1, you might find out your numbers are not correct during your 14-day due diligence period. Number 2, there might be title issues. Okay. And number 3, kind of goes back to the numbers. You might find out that you're not actually going to be able to monetize this deal. You thought you had a great deal, but I'll tell you another example. I got one under contract about 60 days ago. And when I left that property, I called my business partner and I said, hey man, I just got us a smoking deal. I mean, it was a Friday. I went to 3 houses on that Friday. I got all 3 of them under contract. And I told him, man, I think this is the best deal I've ever gotten under contract. And we thought it was until we realized there were survey issues. So there was not a legal easement to get to the property. Issue number 1. Issue number 2, we did the inspection, air conditioner, toast. $12,000 right off the get-go. The property was on well water. We found out that the well collapsed and that the well pump and all the pipes that pump the water out of the well had been hit by a tree and they had fallen down into the well. So had it inspected. The guy said, I would not buy this property thinking you're going to be able to use this well. You're probably looking at $20,000 to $30,000 to put in a new well, and the existing well was almost 500 feet down. That's how far they had to go down to get water. So sometimes you get a property under contract and you think it's the best smoking hot deal you've ever found, and then you find out later it's really not. Okay? So that is the name of the game. 50% of the ones you get under contract are going to close. 50% are not. And that's okay. All right. As you are going through your due diligence period, as you're trying to figure out how to monetize the property, you will have to make a decision. Is this one of these that's going to close, or is this one we need to be done with? There's been times early on in my career as an investor where I stayed in a deal too long. I knew it probably wasn't a deal, but I just wanted to I didn't want to be at 50%. I wanted this deal to close, because I went out and looked at it and I thought it was a good deal. But everything else, all the evidence was telling me, Phil, this is not a good deal. And I stuck in them too long when I should have just been, hey, this one's done. Unfortunately, we found a roadblock we're not going to be able to get past, and I can't move forward. So that's what you're trying to figure out during your contract management. Is this thing going to close, or is this one of those 50% that's not going to close? If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I hope you guys have a great day. See you on the next episode of the Tuscaloosa Real Estate Investor Club podcast.